that's my cue to come in here on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour, which all day long stands for that fantastic magazine that's been around for 34 years in the 405 area code for the 50 plus and their family members. So glad to have you today. This is going to be going out to all our podcast platforms. We have 1,700 podcast platforms, and we're so glad to have Robert Keyes on today. And he's a Republican for the State Senate District 24. And we're going to be talking about some interesting things because he's done a lot in his life and has done it top notch. So just good character of a person. And we want to be able to get that out and have you weigh your options with these candidates that are going to be running June 16th. That was Robert coming in. So June 16th is when we vote. So make sure you all make your voices be heard about what your stance is and if you align that with Robert Keyes. He is from Norman. He's a businessman, which I kind of like, not being so much in the political world, but coming up as a businessman and running for the Republican candidate for Oklahoma State Senate District 24. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Have you ever ran before?
I have.
Okay. When did else?
It last election cycle, Senate District 15, which was in Norman. It was
okay.
I lived 1 mile south of the line, and it's funny, we live in Moore, but we actually have a Norman address.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the south side of the street are where the mailboxes are, and that's Norman, and so they give us a Norman address, but we live in Moore.
Okay, so, yeah. I got you. Well, that's wonderful. Let me tell you a little bit about the Oklahoma Senior Journal before we get into the show. As you know, I mentioned it's a 34-year magazine for the 50-plus and their family members looking for resources for that age group. The Oklahoma Senior Journal was started out of the heart of my family. My mother was taking care of her mother, Laura Diffie, of the Diffie Motor Company fame. My grandfather and her started Diffie Motor Company, and mother was struggling with resources, and I just began to do, without a computer, resources and going to hospitals and talking to gerontologists, going to professors, talking to them to find out if there was any material out there that was all in one place that someone could look up resources for being a family caregiver. Well, there wasn't. So I said, I'm going to start one. It took about 2 years, and we formed the Oklahoma Senior Journal, and haven't looked back since. It's been an absolute pleasure for us to bring these resources because it comes from my heart and from our family. It's like a love letter. And then we started the radio show about 7 years ago, which just gives us more power for the punch and more resources out there through radio as well as print. And then we do a big expo every year at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. It'll be October the 17th this year. That'll be our 6th annual. And love to have y'all all out to the expo October the 17th, starting at 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. All right. Real quickly, where you can pick up an Oklahoma Senior Journal is 650 locations in the 405 area code. Go to okseniorjournal.com. All like it's one word, okseniorjournal.com. Once you're there, just pull down on the menu distribution and you will find exactly where you can pick up an Oklahoma Senior Journal. We also have this magazine online. So we had over 1 million downloads during COVID. So everything you see in print is also online on our website at the okseniorjournal.com. All right, without further doodly-doos, I have semi-introduced Robert Keyes. Hello, good morning this morning.
How are we doing today?
We're doing great. You're looking good. We both have cowboy hats on.
You bet.
And you can join our e-newsletter. That's where Robert's going to be. We're going to be playing his show there on the Oklahoma Senior Journal e-newsletter. Again, all you have to do is go to okseniorjournal.com. So Robert Keyes is a Norman businessman and Republican candidate for the Oklahoma State Senate District 24. He is president and CEO of Associated Environmental Industries. Will you please give me a little brief synopsis of what that is?
Associated Environmental is the mothership, actually, of what I started 30-something years ago. And it was originally started as a water well environmental drilling company. And it's morphed. It's grown into a full-blown engineering and consulting services, all centered around groundwater.
And this is all your baby. You started this.
This is it. We started it in our garage on 5 acres. And wow. Long story short, is I'd been in the water well industry, came to Oklahoma for the oil and gas, spent about 10 years in that, and when it died, I ended up on the road building stadium racetracks for ESPN Sports.
Huh.
And I'd be gone a month or two at a time, and Sandy called me one day and basically said, "Cowboy, you either come home or this isn't going to end up well. I'm not raising these kids alone." and so I came home.
Good for you, Nancy.
I came home and had no idea really what I was going to do, but I had some buddies that were displaced oil and gas guys that had become hydrogeologists in the groundwater world. And they were saying they couldn't find good quality drillers. And so I went out and watched and seen, and I thought, man, that's easier than anything I've ever done on a drill rig. And so I bought a rig.
Huh.
And I took it out to the 5 acres and hired a hand and said, we're not going out on a job until we're the top notch there is. And we practiced drilling holes in that 5 acres until we got there. And it's been crazy ever since.
Well, I love it when individuals decide to come together and do it right.
You bet.
You know, and not cut corners, but do it right, and do it right for the customer and for the environment. It also says that you rose from poverty.
You bet.
So you were born and raised in Oklahoma?
No, my parents, believe it or not, my parents are still alive. My dad is 90 and my mom's 89.
Wow.
And they live right next door to us. And
I love that, Robert.
And so, yeah, I have a new version of what a trust fund baby is. Okay? I was born poor, real poor.
I see.
But my parents trusted that I would raise enough funds to help keep them alive in a good comfort way. And so I'm a trust fund baby.
Okay, I like that.
You bet. So, but ultimately, my parents were real young. My dad was 17 and my mom was 16. And the priest would not let them get married until my mom was 16. So 1 week after her 16th birthday, they got married. And about 2 weeks ago, that was 73 years ago. And so
73 years.
73
are still just.
But it wasn't an easy journey. When kids get married like that, it's got a lot of problems that come with it. And so we were in bad financial shape most of our life. In fact, I think it was the summer of 1967, they were split up, and Mama put all 5 of us on a Greyhound bus and shipped us from Los Angeles, California, to a little dusty farming community in Arizona called Coolidge.
Okay.
And my grandparents picked us up, and they were caretakers on a huge ranch/mining lease between Tucson and Florence. And so they picked us up in a single cab pickup, and one little girl with them, my aunt, and so there were 6 kids in this single cab Dodge Power Wagon driving out in the desert, and that's where we lived. And ultimately, we went to school there, and it was 27 miles from our gate to the city limits. So it was a long journey every day to and from school. But it was the greatest thing my parents could have done. My parents eventually got back together, and we ended up moving there and living there out at the ranch. We called it the mine, until we moved into that little town, Coolidge, and I finished high school in that town.
Okay.
We could go through my life on that. everything that even happened out of the mine, one of the things that led us to eventually leaving there is that following spring, it was my oldest sister's 8th grade graduation, and my grandmother, aunt, and her young newborn baby, and an aunt that was 3 months older than me were traveling into town for
only
it.
3 months older.
Yeah, and ultimately, the aunt's ex-husband ran him off the road and actually murdered her, and then shot my grandmother 4 times. And then a rancher come drive. So I mean, my story is not the same story. It's a crazy story.
It's truly a movie.
You bet. And so it just is crazy. My mom is half Italian. So that little town we lived in.
Love that about her.
That little town we lived in was a lot of Latinos, and they had a government housing project called Migratory Opportunity Program. They called it MOP. And we qualified for it, and so they built like 5 or 7 houses, but everybody had to build each other's house. And so we lived in there, and so it all grew up, and so I lived in a Latino community.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so I mean it was not your typical lifestyle. Now the uniqueness though is during the Depression, my family all left here, and so when I came back, my brother and I were really the first generation to come back.
Okay.
And we came, first time I came was in the 70s after I graduated high school. I had to go back and meet her to get married. So, yeah.
Of course, that was fate.
We'll be married 47 years next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How many kids?
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
8 grandkids.
Okay. Well, we need to take a quick break, but I've got a little more to talk to you about before we get into some questions. So you're listening to us on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour, which stands for the Oklahoma Senior Journal.
I'm Robert Keyes, and I'm running for Senate District 24. I want to be your state senator. I've lived here in Cleveland County since 1983. I've raised my children here locally. They're all OU graduates, and they're all contributors to society, following the pattern that I've set in my family. I want to take that pattern to a higher level and be your senator.
The big link message is that they have to leave Oklahoma because we don't provide enough jobs that sustain themselves. Wastewater injection issue is a problem throughout the country, not just Oklahoma. But there's a lot of good science out there. There's a lot of good technology that is available for us. And then through legislation, we can definitely have oil and water work together.
I spent most of my adult life here in Oklahoma for more than 40 years. And through that time, I've built businesses and continue to do so, fighting through the difficult times of the economy, making payroll and solving real problems. In today's world and today's families, they need real problems solved. When we go to the Capitol, we're not solving problems, we're creating more problems than most of the time. Oklahoma needs leaders with real-world experience. It's sad that we have people that are making laws and governing us that have never had to stay up night to figure out how to have the money to make payroll. I'm Robert Keyes, and I'm running for Senate District 24.
I'd be honored to earn your vote in the June 16th Republican primary.
Let's work together to build a stronger Oklahoma now.
If you're looking for clear, practical health education and local resources you can trust, we invite you to the Truth in Health Clean Living Expo on Friday, April 24th from 10 a.m. to 2. This free community event brings together wellness professionals, environmental experts, and local businesses focused on helping families make informed decisions. Whether you're caring for yourself, a spouse, or grandchildren, this event is for you. Learn more and register at truthin.health. That is truthin.health.
Hi, this is Bob Loudermilk, and I'm excited to share that I recently published my first book, Never Retire, Reinvent Yourself for Life's Second Half. I have a question for you. What if aging isn't the beginning of decline, but a divine invitation, the start of something extraordinary? That's what the book is all about. It's about mindset. It's about that just because you've turned 50 or 60 or 70 or older, that doesn't mean you're on the edge of decline. That means all of your experience is ready for something exciting and new. It's all in the book. I encourage you to get a copy. You can actually download some free chapters at neverretire.life. Neverretire.life. And those that decide to order this week will get an autographed copy with your order. So we look forward to getting that to you at neverretire.life. Neverretire.life.
The Oklahoma Senior Journal. As you know, we have a magazine as well as radio shows. And we would love to offer you at a discount if you buy a full page in the Oklahoma Senior Journal. We will take off $300 on your interview, and then we'll run your ads for free, and you'll get 6 weeks worth of commercials here with the Oklahoma Senior Journal. Call me at 405-816-7889, 405-816-7889, or go to OKSeniorJournal.com. That's OKSeniorJournal.com.
Need care now? No matter the hour, we've got you covered. The emergency department at Integris Health Community Hospital has an average wait time of less than 10 minutes, and our dedicated care team is available around the clock, ready to handle emergencies big or small. Visit IntegrisCommunityHospital.com to find care nearby.
Are you aware of the Medicare changes coming for 2025? We at Navigating Medicare know that understanding health coverage can be overwhelming and confusing, and it's our goal to help you navigate the world of Medicare to get the coverage you need and deserve. What sets our team apart is the fact that we put our hearts into helping our clients find the plans that best fit their individual needs. In our office, we always have an agent on duty ready to help. Call 405-842-0494 today to schedule an in-person appointment, or you can visit our website at navigatingmedicare.com. Again, it's 405-842-0494, and our website is navigatingmedicare.com. Spell out navigatingmedicare.com. You can also find us on Facebook under Navigating Medicare, and you can also stop by our office at 2232 West Hefner Road, Suite A. We're right by the post office. And remember, we're not affiliated with the government. We're local, and we're here to help you out. We are Navigating Medicare.
Hello, this is Robin Gunn. It is easier than ever to get the Oklahoma Senior Journal app on your smartphone or tablet. You can read all the OSJ issues, exclusive articles, all our radio shows, and it still has Find Your Car. Go to your app store and look for Oklahoma Senior Journal, or you can go to page 9 in our current issue and scan the QR code. And the best part about it, it's free. So check out the Oklahoma Senior Journal app today. That's my big cue to come back in here on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour, which stands for the Oklahoma Senior Journal. We are so glad to be here this morning with Robert Keys. He is a Norman businessman and Republican candidate for the Oklahoma State Senate District 24. Can you tell me where District 24, what does that cover here in Oklahoma?
The easy version of it is if you take the Moore Norman city limits line and you start at Indian Hills and Sunny Lane. Mm-hmm. If you follow it all the way to the river west, at the river, follow the river west northwest to Interstate 44, and you come up. It's really about 104th, but the best way to say is basically 89th Street. It's south of that, but it sawtooths back and forth, and so if you come all the way then east over to Sunny Lane, it'll start Sawtooth and again back over to Bryant and back in there. So that's pretty much a rectangular area. Okay,
good deal. So you do have to live in that area in order to vote for you.
You live in that district. And as I said, it was kind of unique that we live in Moore, but we have a Norman address.
Okay, I gotcha. So we're learning about your parents that were 16 and 17 when they got married. Yeah. And sometimes we hear some of the most interesting stories when the mics are off. Would you mind recapping the story about your aunt that was only 3 months older than you?
Yeah. Well, after we had moved to Arizona and my family had moved into town, my grandparents still lived out at the mine. And I had an aunt that was 3 months older than me, and then another aunt who was in her 20s who was going through a divorce. And she had a small, about 4-month-old baby at that time. And her and my grandmother, so there were 4 of them, were traveling into town on what was called the old Tucson Highway. Mm-hmm. And her estranged husband ran him off the road and ended up shooting my aunt twice and killed her on the scene. My grandmother was a big woman, and she got out of the car. Who knows what she was thinking, ran at him, and he shot her 4 times.
But she survived.
She survived, and she died with 2 of the bullets in her. Years later. Yeah. She carried them her whole life. It shot tip of one of her fingers off, and one in each shoulder, and one by the heart. And but long story short, it's a remarkable story because the baby ended up marrying a person in Germany, and finished school. I mean, with all these tragedies, and you can look her up on TED Talks. Michelle Waring. It's incredible, the story, and you'll see the pictures of my family and stuff in there. And then the other incredible part was my aunt, who was 3 months older than me, was in the back seat, and they handed her the baby. And when you look at her life and the success of her life, economic situations do not have to mean bad families.
It's true.
The support that happened in that family. I see Tanya and what she's done with her family. She had a stellar military career as a nurse, married a young man who went into the Air Force and became an officer, and a good family raising now have grandkids, and so. But just a unique story of what can happen. Bad things to good people doesn't mean that everything has to end up bad.
What happened to the shooter?
He went to prison and died there.
He did.
Yeah, they caught him a few weeks later, and he went to prison.
Okay. Wow. I'm just, like I said earlier, it's just like a movie in my brain.
Yeah, well, the aunt who died was actually a stand-in on the old television show High Chaparral. She was a barmaid, and that's where she met her husband, who shot her. He was a camera guy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get back into here telling a little bit more about you. You're an international leader in the groundwater industry. Explain to me what that is.
Well, groundwater is everything that you would have to dig for. It's subsurface. A lot of times people think of groundwater. They look out there at the lake, and they because it's laying on the ground, they think that's groundwater, and that's surface water. And so groundwater is what Mother Nature put down below there without our help. We go searching for it.
Okay, there you go. All right. You serve as the treasurer of the National Groundwater Association and chairman for the NGWA University. What do those letters stand for?
Well, let's back up a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
That's an old bio. Okay, I was elected in December as the president-elect of the National Groundwater Association.
Okay,
and so that means I'm the vice president this year, the president next year, and the past president the following year. And the National Groundwater Association is the oldest and the largest groundwater association in the world. We've got over 10,000 members, and we have MOUs and membership in 80 foreign countries. And so huge impact in groundwater. And so we have our learning center where it's all about education of people in the industry and people coming into the industry and the next gen. And so, workforce development is a huge program that we had created, this NGWA University, and I was one of the creators, part of the founding part of that, and I was the chairman of that through all the kickoff. And
okay.
So. We are using a form of micro-credentialing to help speed up the workforce transition into the industry. If you look around in a lot of university settings, they're starting to see this value of micro-credentialing in the aspect if you took, say, a medical position like a nursing, most of the time when you're working on your bachelor's degree, you get a job in that industry. You don't get a raise. You don't get to do anything until you have the degree. But micro-credentialing starts identifying what are the things you can be doing immediately within the first semester or the first year, and you get a certification in that, which leads to a pay raise, which leads to workforce development in a quicker way.
Okay.
And so,
yeah. So workforce training, it says here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And strong community values.
You bet.
have. Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, let's get into a question.
You lay them on.
Yeah, your bio, we could go on for a whole show.
Yeah.
So, you've described yourself as someone who lived the American dream. How did growing up in poverty shape your approach to leadership and public service?
Well, a unique situation, I need to back up in that, is that
Okay.
I was led to believe that you could not be successful in life without a college degree. And so I was focused on that until I met her.
The Sandy.
Yeah, and she had been married before and had a little boy, and I was getting ready to go back to college. Everything was signed up, everything was there, and we started dating, and we had about 3 or 4 months, and the dating just got real serious, and it was something that I'd never felt, but it was something I wanted to be married to. You bet. I wanted to be her son's dad. And in those days and where I came from, dads didn't go to school. Mm-hmm. They went to work. And so that's what I did. But I always had this frame of mind that I could just outwork everybody. Mm-hmm. And so literally, she'd tell you, when I went in the oil field, I was a guy that would work 2 shifts. And I'd put in 16 hours, and it wasn't long because I didn't drink, I didn't party, and I could fix anything. Mm-hmm. I got opportunities of growth and responsibility that other people didn't.
Okay.
And so that exposure just kept filling the well of knowledge because I was out there all the time.
Right. You were boots on the ground learning.
You bet. And so when the oil field died, and I mean, everything went collapse. I had a little drill rig business, and I thought I had it made, and the oil field died, and then I was starving to death. And I came into this business with a whole different mindset of what I was going to do. As a matter of fact, from the beginning, we provided health insurance, full benefits for all of our employees and their family, and we paid all but $10 per person on the plan. And so we still do that. When we buy out a company, we just bought out a firm out of Atlanta, Georgia. That's your first raise is we take care of most of the insurance for you and your family. And we created a benefit package that I've got some people that have worked for me for right at 33 years, okay? And so that building it that way, we wanted to give, for longevity reasons, the stability that we had never had or experienced.
Gotcha.
And just worked hard. And there were times that everybody got a paycheck and we didn't.
Wow, Robert.
But we applied our principles of business into their principles. Didn't tell them how to do engineering or science. Really good people, really smart in their industry. Mm-hmm. But the leadership didn't know the difference between billable and profitable.
Gotcha.
And that's been the train wreck of every company that we bought. And so when I buy out a company, we go and do our forensic look, and it's almost always the same issue. Almost always the same issue. And it's the same issue we got up there at the Capitol.
Okay.
We stayed true to it, and therefore my team stayed true. And
okay.
My team kept growing, and that trust. And, this is one of the things I've said all along in the business, is there's 2 types of businesses that people love. One is if you're the cheapest. The other is if you're the best. Mm-hmm. The problem is if you're the cheapest, they only love you till somebody else is cheaper.
Yeah.
But if you want to be loved forever, you make sure you're the best.
That's right.
You be the best that you can be. You provide education for your team. You work with them. You let them move. And you build it that way. And so it doesn't matter what your education background is that you came from. It's the avenue that you build and let them go in the future. So I've said to many people is, don't be ashamed of where you came from. Be ashamed of where you're at, because that's the only thing you can change. You can fix that. You can fix that.
That could be on a T-shirt. Okay, we're going to take another quick break. I am thoroughly enjoying this radio show today, learning a lot. This is Robert Keys. He is a Norman businessman and Republican candidate for the Oklahoma State Senate District 24. We'll be right back here on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour, which is the Oklahoma Senior Journal. Good stuff. That's right. I'm coming back in here with Robert Keys. He is a Norman businessman and Republican candidate for the Oklahoma State Senate District 24. And I'm Robin Gunn here on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour that stands for the Oklahoma Senior Journal magazine. All right. I got another question for you. What lessons from building associated environmental industries apply to serving in the state Senate?
In most businesses, you're always trying to figure out how to grow the business. And with the changes in the economy, the rises and fall, I'll go back to 2000, I think it was 2003 time frame when Enron went down. And during that time frame, I had 3 publicly traded companies file bankruptcy on me, and it was a difficult time to survive it. And so we made it. Just the hand of the Lord was kind to us. And we survived it, and but we learned some things that we weren't going to do again. And so as time went on, we had a local firm, a large engineering firm that had been here for many years, Stantec. And over at 4300 North Lincoln Boulevard, and they owed us over $1 million and couldn't pay us. And we bought them out, and we went in and we decided that we would look at it from the management side the way you would a contracting side. And lo and behold, we seen real quick the black holes, and so we were able to turn them around very quickly. They're engineers or scientists, or geologists. They were all good people. We didn't have to lose anybody. It was just management, top level, didn't know the difference between billable and profitable. And it's a funny equation. I ask this question all the time to business people, and most people fail it. And so if you fail it, don't feel bad.
All right.
Okay, but it's simple math. Okay, if I told you that. And now, keep in mind, I want you to know the difference between markup and margin in business. Okay, so if I told you that we're going to buy this product for $100, and I want to make a 10% margin on it, how much would we sell that for?
I don't know.
Well, most people would say $110, 10%.
Right.
But I say, okay, well, now give me a 10% discount. Well, that's $11. That's $99. Margin is the distance between the two numbers. Margin on that would be $111.11. And you have to understand the most basic principles of math to be able to do that in order to be able to understand what your costs are and how much you're generating and making. And they didn't understand that. Most don't. And so we were able to effectively do that, and as we've done that with multiple companies, and it's some people grasp it real good. My Tulsa guy, who's my COO, Bruce, he's got a master's in geology, but he's got an MBA as well, and it was very easy to transfer that concept to him in the difference between billable and profitable. And as we've done that, this is the link as I look at what's going on at the Capitol. We have bills that are being passed. I sat with an appropriations bill for one of the universities pertaining to workforce development, and the bill went through the process, and there was no accountability of how it was going to be used other than the name on it. And so there's no milestones to check on it, no measurement at the end. And so we have way too much of this going on at the Capitol. And so what I bring to the table in being able to clean that up, it lends to why when you read my bio, it says I was a treasurer. That was a couple of years ago, but I think I was the first person to be the treasurer of the National Groundwater Association 3 times.
Wow.
And there's, I understand numbers. When I look at a spreadsheet, I see things different than a lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people, and can put that together in a way people can understand and make it work.
Yes, put it in layman's terms.
Yes.
I like that. As a small business owner, how have government regulations personally impacted you?
Well, I tell you, when you deal with the state agencies and the federal agencies that my companies deal with, okay, our job in the oil and gas industry is to keep the Corporation Commission, the DEQ, the Water Resources Board, and the EPA off the oil and gas people's back. And so, we're constantly managing water projects for them. And what I find on that is, just like right here in Oklahoma, there's a local heat and air firm there they may be, it's in North Norman, South Moore, over off of Sooner Avenue. But it's A1 Heat and Air. And they had built a nice little shop 20 years ago, drilled a well. It was all in compliance, but their business grew. And so it was a crazy set of rules that somebody dreamed up that once you have more than 26 people can walk through your door, that went to a public water well versus a minor public, and they were going to require them to plug their good well and move over and drill a well that would have been $150,000 plus. And so I got involved with them, and I told them, I said, I'll tell you what, you put in a mini split in my garage, and I'll fix this for you. And so, but I got it fixed for them, but it took me 2 years and a whole lot of time fighting it. And they had to relent, and they agreed that there were over 100 rules in the DEQ governing groundwater alone that are ineffective. They don't match current engineering standards or science. Somebody down the road made a number, and we have to stop that. And most people don't even understand the word overreach of government. And OWRB and the DEQ, here's the perfect example. Because when you go drill a water well, the OWRB governs it until somebody starts drinking it with more than 26 people. Okay, well, actually, it's once it becomes a commercial well, then they reach over, and so you already got your well. It's all in compliance by state standards, science, everything. Engineering says it's a good well until it becomes commercial. Then they have a whole different set of rules that can abolish all of that. And the fact is, what needs to happen, and what I plan on doing if elected, is do a cutoff with the OWRB and the DEQ from surface down. The OWRB manages it. From production side or distribution, the DEQ. But once that well is in and it meets all engineering and science, why add anything to it? Every time you start trying to do something different to that well, you put it at greater risk.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good policy. What does pro-business really mean for families in District 24?
Well, there's a lot of things on the pro-business side in the aspect that Oklahoma, we often get things in a backward state of how we do our taxation and how we recruit businesses in. If you notice how we're losing big businesses, we're losing Devon Energy, we're losing powerful people to states that are offering benefits, tax exemptions, things that we're not doing here. And the fact is, Oklahoma's getting bought up by private equity. And George E. Failing Company, Enid, Oklahoma, the largest drill rig manufacturing company in the world for water wells, the oldest, been there since 1935, got bought out by a German private equity firm. and they moved them to Conroe, Texas. 5 people got to keep their job. State of Oklahoma, their economic development and Enid are now trying to recruit somebody with massive tax incentives to come fill that machine and try to hire those people back, when all they had to do was have somebody with enough experience to say, hey, why don't we help that group become a private or ESOP, employee-owned company. $12.5 million later, they're making payments with interest to the state. However we fund that, we can find ways to fund that. At the same time, we never lose the tax revenue that was coming in off of that to begin with. Now they're saying, okay, we didn't do a good job there. We lost them to Texas. Let's give somebody a big tax break to come in. We're not a welfare state, and we need to quit that.
I agree.
Yeah. If you look across the board in how we do economics, I mean, the OTA is another one. That my front yard is going to be a turnpike. Okay, they're going to move my fence 10 feet. I'm not upset about it, but what I'm upset about is the fact that we're going to go to Wall Street. We're going to raise $1 billion to say, and when we do that, those people who invest in that money is what's called a municipal bond, and it's tax free, state and federal. And currently, if you go look, the highest paying bond in Oklahoma is OTA is 4.6 tax free. Now, wait a second, how many millions of dollars do we have in Oklahoma sitting in out-of-state banks that are in CDs that are drawing 3.6, 3.7 and paying taxes on it?
Right.
Why are we not coming to Oklahoma and saying, okay, I get it, you don't want a turnpike, but we're going to force you anyway, but we're going to give you the opportunity to make a lot of money off of it and be tax-free. I mean, we do everything as if we are a welfare state, and we've got to change that.
I just bang the drum with you on that. Anyway, we've got a break. So here we go. We're taking another break on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour, which stands for the Oklahoma Senior Journal.
I'm Robert Keyes, and I'm running for Senate District 24. I want to be your state senator. I've lived here in Cleveland County since 1983. I've raised my children here locally. They're all OU graduates, and they're all contributors to society, following the pattern that I've set in my family. I want to take that pattern to a higher level and be your senator.
The big link message is that they have to leave Oklahoma because we don't provide enough jobs that sustain themselves. Wastewater injection issue is a problem throughout the country, not just Oklahoma. But there's a lot of good science out there. There's a lot of good technology that is available for us. And then through legislation, we can definitely have oil and water work together.
I spent most of my adult life here in Oklahoma for more than 40 years. And through that time, I've built businesses and continue to do so, fighting through the difficult times of the economy, making payroll and solving real problems. In today's world and today's families, they need real problems solved. When we go to the Capitol, we're not solving problems, we're creating more problems most of the time. Oklahoma needs leaders with real-world experience. It's sad that we have people that are making laws and governing us that have never had to stay up night to figure out how to have the money to make payroll. I'm Robert Keyes, and I'm running for Senate District 24.
I'd be honored to earn your vote in the June 16th Republican primary. Let's work together to build a stronger Oklahoma now.
If you're looking for clear, practical health education and local resources you can trust, we invite you to the Truth in Health Clean Living Expo on Friday, April 24th from 10 a.m. to 2. This free community event brings together wellness professionals, environmental experts, and local businesses focused on helping families make informed decisions. Whether you're caring for yourself, a spouse, or grandchildren, this event is for you. Learn more and register at truthin.health. That is truthin.health.
Hi, this is Bob Loudermilk, and I'm excited to share that I recently published my first book, Never Retire, Reinvent Yourself for Life's Second Half. I have a question for you. What if aging isn't the beginning of decline, but a divine invitation, the start of something extraordinary? That's what the book is all about. It's about mindset. It's about that just because you turn 50 or 60 or 70 or older, that doesn't mean you're on the edge of decline. That means all of your experience is ready ready for something exciting and new. It's all in the book. I encourage you to get a copy. You can actually download some free chapters at neverretire.life. Neverretire.life. And those that decide to order this week will get an autographed copy with your order. So we look forward to getting that to you at neverretire.life. Neverretire.life.
Hey, this is Robin Gunn with the Oklahoma Senior Journal. As you know, we have a magazine as well as radio shows. And we would love to offer you at a discount if you buy a full page in the Oklahoma Senior Journal. We will take off $300 on your interview, and then we'll run your ads for free, and you'll get 6 weeks worth of commercials here with the Oklahoma Senior Journal. Call me at 405-816-7889, 405-816-7889, or go to OKSeniorJournal.com. That's OKSeniorJournal.com.
Is someone offering you investment advice with the promise of a high return? Is your soulmate you met online asking for money? Perhaps you're about to wire money to a seemingly legitimate charity. Scammers are constantly devising new methods to defraud victims. Understanding how common scams work can help you avoid their schemes. MidFirst is a proactive community partner in helping consumers avoid ID theft, fraud, and scams. At MidFirst, we have our very own award-winning financial education team known as Money Moments. We also have a financial crimes team to help protect our customers as well as the bank. To learn more about how to protect yourself from fraud and scams, visit moneymoments.com.
That's right. We're coming back in here on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour, which, you know, stands for that fantastic 34-year-old magazine, the Oklahoma Senior Journal. So we got Robert and Sandy Keys right here in the studio today with me. Make sure, because we have a great e-newsletter, over 10,000 members, and it grows daily, that you go to OKSeniorJournal.com and you'll be able to hear this entire show through our 1,700 podcast platforms. So, Robert, tell me about the structure of your businesses and how they work and do.
You bet. As I said earlier, Associated Environmental was the mothership, and it started out as a drilling company, morphed into a drilling and earth-moving type construction company. And then along the way, we started purchasing these environmental engineering and consulting firms, and have been very successful in that. And so we purchased Stantec, which was been in Oklahoma City since the 80s. We purchased Genesis Environmental, which was a private equity purchase, and then we took over a group out of Tulsa, which was an EnviroClean, and we rebranded it to Equus. And each one of them have their specialties. Where Equus in the Tulsa group, they specialize in direct oil field type related work, where there's 5 active refineries in Oklahoma, and we have boots on the ground quite regularly with 4 of them, almost every day in 3 of them. Our Tulsa office is at Gate 12 at the Holly refineries. And then the Oklahoma City offices with Genesis and Stantec, they focus on a lot of underground storage tank gas station work, but a lot of brownfield. When you look at the Devon Tower, if you go in the Devon Tower, you'll see on the floor that they won this massive brownfield award for its environmental cleanup. And Associated Environmental, the drilling construction company, did the work and oversight by Stantec. And so when it comes to groundwater, they're all wrapped in. And then we purchased Ecovac last year out of Georgia, which is a remediation service company. They have been in Moore for 18 years, just actually about 2 miles north of where I actually live.
Okay. Why is now the right time for you to run for State Senate District 24?
Given all the battles that have gone on up there, and it's pretty amazing to me the difference in the leadership battle that's going on. And the fact is, we need somebody who's a leader that's looking at the bigger picture of getting things done right now for the people of Oklahoma, instead of sandbagging these little things for myself. I had a senator here a couple of years ago. He called me up. He was a little inebriated. He was mad at another senator, and he was going on. And it reminds me of the universities publish a parish, okay? And he was all upset because another senator took his bill and put his name on it and got it authored. But he couldn't get the bill through leadership. This other one could, and so he got the credit for it. And I'm like, well, was it a good bill? Then you should be thrilled that you got it through. That the people of Oklahoma won. It doesn't matter if you get the credit. And when we're playing those kind of games, what are the other games we're playing? We've got to have somebody and on the national board, okay, we have people of all different faiths, different political backgrounds, but when we go into the meetings, I make sure they stay focused on groundwater, on education, on workforce development, and we don't pull off of them. As they start to pull away, I drag them back, and we need somebody with that kind of vision to be able to pull you're herding cats a lot of them.
Yeah. So. I've heard that statement. Yeah, and I'm sure you have had to deal with that quite a bit.
You bet.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. How do faith and community involvement influence your policy priorities?
Well, we're going to get philosophical.
Okay, let's do it.
In the aspect that I'm a strong believer in Christ.
Okay.
My life is that's the direction. And I don't believe that I need to stuff my religion down anybody. I don't think I agree. I don't think that's Christ's path. Mm-hmm. But I do know that we need to create an environment through our policies to allow people to grow and come under Christ. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at making policies, you're building policies to help to, one, strengthen the community, how to keep the community safe, how to help the community be financially successful. You're looking at a bigger picture of trying to build a happier, more wholesome community in the big picture of it. When you do that, that's faith-based.
Right.
That's faith-based that helps you to see that vision.
That's right on. Yeah. I agree completely. So where do you see government outreach hurting small businesses or health care providers most?
Well, we'll jump on the health care providers. Is when you look at all of the massive programs that are set out there in advance for large corporate America hospitals, and we're losing small rural hospitals where there's just, when you look at what's happening out there, when you look at our limited choice. I'm a 2-time kidney cancer survivor, and the second time I was diagnosed just a couple weeks before they shut the nation down. And when I was forced to have shots to have treatment for cancer,
right.
I had to go to Mayo Clinic because Oklahoma wouldn't let her in the hospital. When we have rules that reach like that,
right.
that has to stop.
High five. I'm high-fiving you.
And my daughter's a functional medicine consultant, and the things that when they do the analytics on people that they're discovering that traditional medicine doesn't cover, but yet science proves the other side of it. It's a cause and effect world, and if we don't start removing the cause and we're just selling a pill, are we really helping anybody?
No.
Yeah.
I say no.
Yeah. So that's where the uniqueness is in our family, because she's 67 years old, and she looks like she's the same age as our daughter. Okay,
I know.
And
I agree.
It's just my children grew up on milk, on goat milk, and what was it Bobby said? I'm not drinking anything orange with green foam on it. Yeah. So my daughter had that passion for that. And her dad has spent his life at making sure groundwater was safe and clean, and understanding that the impact or contamination, how different things can have different effects on the body. I mean, it's bizarre. Even today, we're discovering more and more about people are putting RO systems, reverse osmosis, on their water wells, which is good. Don't get me wrong. But if you don't put a remineralization, then you're just drinking distilled water and you're stripping yourself of natural nutrients.
Right.
And we have to be teaching. This has to be part of the big picture of it. Oh.
Okay. Wonderful, Robert. We're going to take another break. This is our final break. And when we come back, we'll give ways that you can get a hold of information concerning Robert Keyes, Republican for State Senate in District 24. So you've been listening to us on this fantastic show today, on the Rise and Thrive OSJ Radio Hour, which is the Oklahoma Senior Journal. Well, hello there, Robin Gunn, and I'm here with Robert Keyes. He is a Norman businessman and Republican candidate for the Oklahoma State Senate District 24. So, Robert, what would you like people to take away from this show today?
One, that I've been a blessed man, and I don't like to use the word successful. I've been given some gifts and some tools, and I've used it not just to increase, say, my net worth, but to make a difference wherever I'm at. And running for office, I'd never ran for office. Okay, that wasn't on my agenda. Most of the things in my life had become that through, hey, would you run for this? Would you? Somebody nominated me, but all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, when I started waking up at night feeling that I needed to do this, and as I talked with Sandy about it, her first thought was like, yeah, that's not happening. But as I left it alone, and as she went to the Lord, we knew it. And this journey has been so incredible since I started it a couple of years ago. We've met the President of the United States. I've been to D.C. for many years. Going up there, I meet with members of Congress, and I was just there last week, and we're the latest issues going on in the country with groundwater use and data centers, with workforce development, with the geothermal and the impact that it's having on Oklahoma, with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So I've always been engaged there, but the doors that have opened and the things that have pulled and the people that are pulling me to do this, it's one of those. I think if you sit back and you look at people's resumes, you look at what they've done in their life and their history of what they've done, what they're doing, you'll get a good idea of what they can do. When we vote for somebody, sure, I wear a cowboy hat. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. But if you're voting for me just because of a cowboy hat, I like the vote, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be worth a flip. Do your homework, and you'll see
that's right
what I'm about. In today's world with Google, it's not a hard task to see the pattern of somebody's life. And there's a lot of good people that want to run, and they got a lot of desires, but they've never done anything, and they're going to make a whole lot of mistakes before they get it right, if they ever get it right.
Right.
And so right now, with the path we're on, we need to be banking on somebody who's been there, done that, and can get it done.
Amen. I agree. Well, tell me, you have a Facebook page.
Yes.
And so that's just www.facebook.com/vote Robert Keyes, and that's Keyes. And then what is your website?
It's KeyesForStateSenate.com.
Okay, Keyes, Keyes again, for StateSenate.com. And then if someone wants to get up and personal, you've got a phone number.
You betcha. And this is my personal cell. I have on my website, my business card, you'll see that I have a campaign phone as well.
Okay.
My granddaughter's going to high grade it for a day or two, but it rings onto my main phone anyway. But my personal cell phone that rings is 405-831-0999. 405-831-9140.
One more time.
405-831-9140.
Okay.
And I answer that thing.
You do?
Yes, I do.
I just love hearing that. So how about an email?
Okay. Email is Robert, ROBERT, at Keyes, KEYES, forstatesenate.com.
That's fantastic. Robert, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here too, Sandy.
We're honored. Thank you for
Yes, I appreciate you so much, and I learned a lot about you.
You bet. and it's good to see Tippy over
Tippy,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
Tippy is here. Tippy Toes. Yeah. All right. Thank you again, and y'all have a lovely day.
You got it. Well, here's...